Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
I do want to go back to Ushalad wrote back and said that auditory listening, she was talking about auditory listening therapy, listening to some kind of music, using headphones. I heard from many parents it helps a lot with receptive skills, auditory processing disorder. So do you want to talk about TOMATIS?
Yeah, TOMATIS and Berard. So this is called auditory integration therapy. And the concept with it is that we have, over the course of our lives, the inner hair cells of our ears have all been exposed to the same level of sounds and say frequencies, and so they've all activated. And so now when you hear something, let's say that's a silent letter like as opposed to a voiced letter like "b," you can differentiate those, right? Because those inner hair cells are what help you perceive these. You hear them in a certain way, and they give the right message to your brain, so you're differentiating and hearing all of the sounds. This will tell you how old I am, Shannon, because I'm trying to remember when I did all this training for TOMATIS. So that would have been like in the, I want to say the 90s, or maybe even earlier than that. People started believing that, this is how it came about, actually, that we would always tell parents after diagnostic, that we want one of the rule out tests that we wanted parents to do was to get an audiogram to make sure that the child is not hearing impaired, right? Because sometimes kids who have autism don't even respond when you call their name, so you can't be sure. And let me tell you, I did actually have a child who we were trying to teach, and we learned he's completely deaf. So it's important to identify those things. And so parents would go and get their kids tested, and the audiogram is that test where, the child is in a booth and there's like a toy in the far corner and another one over here, and they make sounds, and your experimenter is looking to see if the child turns to the sound, which indicates that they're hearing certain things, right? And then there's another test, which is the auditory brainstem test, which actually looks at the vibrations in the inner ear and tells you how much the child is hearing. Okay, so from that, we came to the realization that some of our kids were not hearing every sound at the intensity that they should. So different frequencies of sounds, they were hearing some very intensely, others not so intensely, different from the way you and I hear them. And that does influence language. There's no question. In fact, one of my recovered adults told me that when he was little, he would hear the loudest sounds that he would hear were things like doors opening and closing or creaking. And language for him was kind of a background noise. And it took him a lot of time to teach himself to focus on the sound of language, which was background noise for him. So, and then his language picked up, obviously, because, I mean, if you can imagine, Shannon, this is why I always say it's important to put ourselves in the position that our kids are in and see how they interact with the world and what are they receiving, right? And if you're expected to learn and decipher patterns of language from something that's a background noise, you're not going to do it. It's much harder. So that's the concept with auditory integration training. They're a little bit different. Berard, if I remember correctly, had 2 sets and they were a little bit louder. This is modulated music. So it's not just music, but it's music that we all listen to, like, let's say, I don't know, Barry Manilow. And it's modulated. So the idea is that first you'll do an audiogram, and if your child is able to identify enough sounds that they hear and don't hear, then it will help the audiologist determine a pattern. So like, these particular hair cells are inactive, these are overactive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modulate the music in a way that wherever the frequency of sound is for a hair cell that's overactive, I'm going to reduce that sound in the music. And for the hair cells that need to be activated, I'm going to enhance that sound. So it's the same music, like, and then it'll just go, that's what it sounds like, because you're trying to activate certain hair cells that the child usually is not hearing those frequencies. And then TOMATIS is like, I think 3 separate rounds. Each round, I forget now, I think it's like 10 or 15 days. And you go in and you basically put headphones on and you listen to this music, and that's it. And the concept is, okay, by doing this, you've now activated certain hair cells of the inner ear. This will sort of wake your child up in regards to all the sounds they're hearing, and then they will be able to learn more, which theoretically makes a lot of sense. I did see some parents who really felt that it helped improve their child's attention and ability to pay attention to sounds. I also met a couple of parents who felt that it caused their child to become a little bit aggressive. And I'm thinking in those cases, maybe it was just because it was too much. If anyone is exposed to too much sound, it can become disturbing. TOMATIS is a milder method. I think it's like lower frequencies, longer duration. Berard is a little bit stronger and shorter.
And it seems to go in cycles how many people are, and it seems like there's a resurgence all of a sudden of people wanting to rediscover this. It can be very expensive and it can be very hit and miss. I too have talked to families where they felt that there was a language boon afterwards, and that their child was more self-regulated and that it was really helpful. And other families where they either said, we spent all this money and we don't feel like it did anything, or in fact, one family that felt like things, they stopped. And I don't know whether stopping was the right choice, but that they felt that it was making things worse. So, really important for people to do their own investigation. And, if you think that it's right for you or for your child to try it out. Many families that I knew, the whole family would go through it because the cost is expensive. And often if you don't have someone locally, you have to have them come. So you have to have, a certain number of people signed up to do it. And so the whole family would go through it. And the people that have raved about it the most have been adults who've said, boy, this really helped me.
Interesting.
So it's always interested me, but we were never able to prioritize. It was never close. And it's expensive. And some grants cover it and some don't. So there you go. We're just about out of time here, but I want to take just a second here, Dr. Granpeesheh, to remind people that they can be watching you on TikTok. And as we mentioned, there is a video up right now of you with Bailey. But it's the one where Frankie was not a part of it. So you should watch the real one. But then I think it's later on today that they're releasing the one of you and Bailey, the outtake, which is hilarious. For that alone, you should follow on TikTok because it's absolutely hilarious. Because Frankie is this. Listen, I'm a Cocker Spaniel lover. There's no cuter dogs on the face of the planet, but Frankie is extra. Frankie is extra cute, and to see how Frankie reacts to this new friend is hilarious. So ask Dr. Doreen on TikTok.
And you can always post questions for me on TikTok too, because that's basically what I do is I answer the questions that are posted there.
There you go. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.